The alarm woke Jake Morrison at 3 in the morning. He sat up fast, his heart racing. The red lights in his quarters flashed on and off. Something was wrong. Jake grabbed his uniform and ran to the command center. Other soldiers rushed through the halls. Everyone looked worried. When he reached the command room, Captain Ryan Foster was already there, staring at the screens. "What happened?" Jake asked. "Something crashed in the valley." "Big explosion. Could be a meteor. Could be a ship," Ryan said. His face was tight with concern. Jake looked at the screen. A large fire burned 2 miles from their base. The heat signature was massive. "That's no meteor. Meteors don't burn that hot. Get a team ready. I want you to check it out," Ryan ordered. Jake nodded and left quickly. He called for Dr. Amy Carter, the base medical officer. Then he found Ben Rodriguez, their best engineer, and Megan Walsh from security. Within 10 minutes, they were in a transport vehicle heading toward the crash site. The ride was bumpy. New Haven was a mining colony on the edge of human space. The ground was rocky and hard. Jake drove while Amy checked her medical supplies. Ben loaded scanning equipment. Megan kept her rifle ready. "Think it's one of ours?" Ben asked. "No human ships were scheduled to come through here," Jake said. "Command would have told us." Amy looked nervous. "Then what is it?" "We'll find out soon enough," Jake replied. They reached the valley 15 minutes later. The crashed ship was huge. It was at least twice the size of their transport. The metal hull was black and silver, covered in strange symbols. Fire burned around the wreckage. Parts of the ship were scattered everywhere. "That's alien," Megan said quietly. "I've seen pictures. That's a Zaltharon vessel." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Zaltharon Empire was powerful. They controlled dozens of star systems. Humans had met them before, but the Zaltharon weren't friendly. They thought humans were weak and primitive. They rarely talked to human diplomats. "Stay sharp," Jake said. "Check for survivors." They approached carefully. The ship's hull was broken open. Inside, they could see destroyed equipment and fallen support beams. Ben scanned for life signs. "I've got something. One life form. Very weak signal." They climbed through the wreckage. The ship was hot. Smoke filled the air. Amy coughed and pulled her mask tighter. They found the cabin at the center of the ship. A Zaltharon soldier lay on the floor. He was tall, maybe 7 feet. His skin was blue-gray, but now it looked pale and sick. He wore armor that was cracked and burned. His breathing was shallow and fast. "He's alive," Amy said. She knelt beside him and checked his pulse. "Barely. He needs help now." The alien's eyes opened. They were golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. He looked at Jake and the others. His 3-fingered hand reached for something on his belt. "Easy," Jake said, raising his hands. "We're here to help." The Zaltharon stared at him. He seemed confused. He tried to speak, but his voice was weak. A small device on his collar blinked. Then, it spoke in English. "Humans, why are you here? Your ship crashed near our colony." "We came to help," Jake explained. The alien's golden eyes widened. He looked shocked. "You came to help me? But we are not allies. My people have never helped yours." "Doesn't matter," Amy said firmly. She opened her medical kit. "You're hurt. Let me treat you." The Zaltharon coughed. Dark blue blood came from his mouth. "I am Commander Vex Nar of the Zaltharon 4th Fleet. I was attacked by Kresh forces. My ship was damaged. I tried to escape, but the engines failed." "The Kresh?" Ben asked. "The ones you're at war with?" "Yes," Vexnar said. His voice was getting weaker. "They poisoned me. Kresh. Bioweapons. I am dying." Amy looked at Jake with worried eyes. "We need to get him back to base. I can't treat him here." "Number 9. Can you move him?" Jake asked. I don't know. I've never treated a Zaltharan before. I don't even know their biology, Amy admitted. Vexisnar closed his eyes. Do not waste your effort. I cannot be saved. Human medicine is too primitive. Even my own people would struggle to treat this poison. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. He hated that word. Primitive. The Zaltharan always called humans that. But he pushed his anger down. This wasn't the time. We're taking you back to base, Jake said firmly. You might not think we can help, but we're going to try. Vexnar opened his eyes again. He looked at Jake with something like surprise. Why? Why would you risk yourselves for me? Because it's the right thing to do, Jake said simply. They carefully lifted Vexnar onto a stretcher. He was heavy, and his armor made it harder. They carried him back to the transport. Amy stayed beside him, monitoring his vital signs with her scanner. The readings didn't make much sense. Zaltharan biology was completely different from human biology. On the ride back, Vexnar kept fading in and out of consciousness. When he was awake, he watched Amy work. She tried different treatments, but nothing seemed to help. His breathing got worse. His skin turned more pale. I have critical information, Vexnar said suddenly. In my armor. Data chip. Must reach my fleet. Very important. Save your strength, Amy told him. We'll get you fixed up first. You don't understand, Vexnar insisted. Kresh are planning major attack. My people don't know. Thousands will die if this information doesn't reach them. Jake looked back at the alien soldier. Even dying. Vexnar was thinking about his mission. About his people. Jake could respect that. We'll get your message out, Jake promised. But first, let's keep you alive. They reached the base 20 minutes later. Captain Ryan was waiting at the medical bay with a security team. He looked at Vexisnar with concern. Is he dangerous? Ryan asked. He's dying, Jake said. Amy needs to start treatment right away. Ryan nodded slowly. All right, but keep guards posted. We don't know what we're dealing with here. They moved Vexnar into the medical bay. Amy immediately started connecting monitoring equipment. Ben helped her adapt the human machines to read Zaltharan biology. It was like trying to read a language they didn't understand. Jake stood in the corner, watching Amy work. Megan stood guard by the door. Vexnar lay on the bed, his golden eyes watching everything. Despite his weakness, there was intelligence in those eyes, and something else. Maybe it was respect. Maybe it was just surprise that humans would even try to save him. Jake didn't know if they could save this alien soldier. He didn't know if Amy's skills would be enough. But he knew one thing for certain. They were going to try with everything they had. Because that's what humans did. They didn't give up. They didn't walk away from someone who needed help, even if that someone thought humans were primitive. Amy Carter had been a doctor for 8 years. But she had never felt this lost. She stared at the screens, showing Vexnar's vital signs. Nothing made sense. His heart had 4 chambers instead of 2. His blood was crystalline, not liquid like human blood. His organs were arranged in patterns she didn't recognize. This is impossible, she whispered. Nurse Kate Sullivan stood beside her. What do we do? I don't know, Amy admitted. Every time I try something, his body reacts differently than I expect. I gave him basic stabilizers an hour ago. They should have helped. Instead, his temperature dropped. Vexnar was conscious now, watching them work. His golden eyes followed every movement. You cannot help me, Dr. Carter. The Kresh poison is designed specifically for Zaltharan biology. It attacks our crystalline cell structure. Without proper Zaltharan medical equipment, I will die within 6 hours. 6 hours? Kate gasped. Perhaps less, Vexnar said calmly. He seemed to accept his death with dignity. I only ask that you recover the data chip from my armor. It contains intelligence about a Kresh staging ground. If this information reaches my fleet, many lives can be saved. Amy felt frustrated. She wasn't used to losing patience. Jake entered the medical bay. He had been talking with Captain Ryan. "How is he?" "Dying," Amy said bluntly. "I need help. Real help. Someone who understands alien biology." "I already thought of that," Jake said. "There's a xenobiology expert named Dr. Lisa Chen stationed at Research Base Gamma. That's 3 systems away. I sent her all our data. She's studying it now. When the basting. Chen stations people. When the stations station, win the basting." "Will she have answers in time?" Kate asked. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "But it's our best shot." Ben Rodriguez came in carrying tools and equipment. Behind him was another engineer named Chris Palmer. Chris had just arrived on the last supply ship 2 weeks ago. He specialized in alien technology. "Show me the data chip," Chris said to Vexnar. The Zaltharon pointed to his armor, which lay on a nearby table. Chris examined the chest piece. Built into it was a small, crystalline device. It glowed with soft blue light. "This is beautiful," Chris said with admiration. "Zaltharon tech is at least 50 years ahead of ours. Maybe more. Can you access it?" Jake asked. "Access it? Sure. Getting the data out and transmitting it? That's harder," Chris explained. He pulled out his tools. "Their encryption is incredibly complex. And even if I crack that, I need to build a transmitter that can reach a Zaltharon ship. Our communication systems aren't compatible." Ben joined him at the table. The 2 engineers started talking in technical terms that Jake didn't fully understand. They discussed frequencies, signal modulation, and power requirements. Vexnar watched them work. "You are wasting time. Human technology cannot interface with Zaltharon systems. The gap is too large." "Maybe," Ben said without looking up. "But we're good at finding workarounds." "Workarounds?" Vexnar asked. The translation device struggled with the word. "Creative solutions," Jake explained. "Using what we have in unexpected ways." Vexnar looked confused. "That is not logical. Either your technology is compatible, or it is not. You'd be surprised what humans can do when they're determined," Jake said. Meanwhile, Amy received a message on her terminal. Dr. Lisa Chen was calling. Amy accepted the video link. A woman in her 40s appeared on screen. She looked tired, but alert. "Dr. Carter, I've reviewed your data. This is fascinating. I've never seen Zaltharon physiology up close before," Lisa said. "Can you help him?" Amy asked desperately. Lisa hesitated. "The poison is sophisticated. It's breaking down his cellular structure from the inside. In humans, I'd say it's like an aggressive cancer combined with organ failure, but treating it is far beyond our current medical knowledge." Amy felt her heart sink. "So, there's nothing we can do?" "I didn't say that," Lisa replied. "I said we can't cure him. But we might be able to slow the poison down. Buy him more time." "How?" "His blood is crystalline. It carries energy instead of oxygen. The poison is corrupting that energy transfer. If you can filter his blood and remove the corrupted crystals, you might stabilize him temporarily," Lisa explained. "Filter his blood? You mean like dialysis?" Amy asked. "Exactly like dialysis. You have mining equipment there, right? Some of those machines use crystalline filters to separate minerals. If you can adapt one, you might be able to clean his blood." Amy looked at Kate. "Get me everything we have on the mining equipment. I need specifications, operating manuals, everything." Kate ran to get the information. Amy turned back to Lisa. "How long will this buy him?" "I'm not sure. Maybe a few hours. Maybe a day. His biology is so different from ours that I'm guessing," Lisa admitted. "But it's better than nothing." "Thank you," Amy said sincerely. "I wish I could do more. Keep me updated." "I'll keep researching," Lisa said, before ending the call. Amy turned to Vexnar. We're going to try something. It might not work. It might even hurt. But it's a chance. Vexnar looked at her for a long moment. Why are you doing this? Your people gain nothing from saving me. The Zaltharan Empire has never been kind to humanity. That doesn't matter, Amy said firmly. You're a living being who needs help. That's all that matters to me. Vexnar's expression changed. Something like wonder crossed his face. Your species is strange. We value strength, honor, and logic. But you value something else. Something we may have forgotten. What's that? Jake asked. Compassion, Vexnar said softly. You help even when logic says you should not. Even when there is no benefit to yourselves. Kate returned with the information about the mining equipment. Amy spread out the technical documents and started reading quickly. Her eyes scanned the pages, looking for anything useful. Here, she said, pointing at a diagram. This crystalline separator. It's designed to filter minerals from rock slurry. If we can adapt it, maybe we can use it to filter Vexnar's blood. That's crazy, Kate said. Those machines are huge. They're designed for tons of raw material, not precise medical work. Then we'll have to make it precise, Amy said. She looked at Ben and Chris. Can you help me? Ben looked up from the data chip. Give us a few minutes to finish here. Then we'll help you rig something up. The next 2 hours were intense. Amy and Kate worked to understand Vexnar's circulatory system. They had to figure out how to connect his body to the mining equipment without killing him. Ben and Chris modified the separator, reducing its size and increasing its precision. They used parts from medical equipment, computer systems, and even personal devices. Jake watched them work. He had seen human determination before, but this was something special. They were attempting something that should be impossible. They were using mining equipment to perform alien surgery. They were combining 3 different fields of expertise to solve a problem that had no known solution. Vexnar watched too. His condition was getting worse. His breathing was labored. His skin had turned almost white, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He was observing everything. You work well together, Vexnar said to Jake. No rigid hierarchy. Each person contributes their expertise freely. Among my people, the commander gives orders and others obey. But your team discusses, argues, and finds solutions together. That's how humans work best, Jake said. We're stronger when we combine our different skills and ideas. It is inefficient, Vexnar said, but his tone suggested he was reconsidering that judgment. Finally, Amy announced they were ready. They carefully connected Vexnar to the modified mining equipment. His crystalline blood flowed through tubes into the separator. The machine hummed softly as it worked. Everyone held their breath. For a minute, nothing happened. Then, Vexnar gasped. His eyes went wide. Stop it, Kate shouted. His vital signs are dropping. No, wait, Amy said, watching the monitors carefully. Look at the energy readings. They're stabilizing. She was right. After the initial shock, Vexnar's condition began to improve slightly. His breathing became easier. A little color returned to his skin. It's working, Ben said with amazement. Vexnar looked at the humans gathered around him. I do not understand. This should not be possible. Your technology is primitive. Your knowledge of my biology is limited. Yet you succeeded where my own people would have failed. We didn't have fancy Zaltharan technology, Jake said with a small smile. So we had to get creative. That's what humans do. We adapt. We improvise. We find a way. For the first time, Vexnar smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face, but it was definitely a smile. Perhaps I have underestimated your species. The medical bay became a workshop. Cables ran across the floor. Equipment from 3 different departments was scattered on tables. Ben and Chris worked side by side, trying to build a transmitter that could reach Zaltharan frequencies. Jake brought them coffee and food. making sure they kept their strength up. "This is insane," Chris muttered. He was staring at the Zaltharon data chip. "Their communication system operates on frequencies we don't even have names for. It's like trying to play a symphony on a children's toy piano." "So we build a better piano," Ben said. He was taking apart their main communication array. "Look, Zaltharon tech might be more advanced, but it's also rigid. Everything has to be exactly right or it doesn't work at all. Our stuff is flexible. We can modify it." Chris looked doubtful. "You want to modify a communication system designed for basic colony traffic to transmit on military-grade alien frequencies? That's impossible." Perfectated. .com. Military glow. .com. 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 Impossible just means nobody's done it yet, Ben replied with a grin. They worked through the night. Ben pulled components from the mining scanners, which operated on high-frequency bands. Chris salvaged processing units from their weather satellites. Jake donated his personal computer, which had powerful encryption software. Megan Walsh came by at midnight with more coffee. "How's it going?" "Slowly," Chris admitted. "We've got the frequency range right, but the power output is too weak. We'd need at least 3 times more power to reach a Zaltharon ship in this sector." "What about the mining lasers?" Megan suggested. "They put out massive power." Ben and Chris looked at each other. "The mining lasers," Ben repeated slowly. "We could use their power cores, but those are for cutting rock, not powering communications equipment," Chris said. "Since when has that stopped us?" Ben asked. 20 minutes later, they were at the mining facility. The lasers were huge machines used to cut through solid stone. Their power cores were nuclear batteries, designed to run for decades. Ben started disconnecting one of the smaller cores. "Captain Ryan is going to be furious," Megan said, watching them work. "Only if this doesn't work," Ben replied. They brought the power core back to the medical bay. It took 2 people to carry it. They integrated it into their makeshift transmitter. The device now looked like something from a nightmare, a combination of at least 6 different systems held together with cables, bolts, and determination. "That's either going to work perfectly or explode," Chris said. "Let's hope for the first one," Ben replied. In the medical corner, Amy was having her own challenges. The dialysis process was helping Vexnar, but it wasn't enough. The poison was still advancing, just more slowly. She needed to do more. Kate was monitoring the Zaltharon's vital signs. "His core temperature is dropping again. And look at these readings. His energy levels are fluctuating wildly." Amy studied the monitors. Vexnar's biology was like nothing she had ever seen. His cells weren't biological in the traditional sense. They were crystalline structures that stored and transferred energy. The poison was disrupting that transfer. "It's like his batteries are dying," Amy said. "He needs energy, but his body can't process it properly because of the poison. Can we give him energy directly?" Kate asked. Amy thought for a moment. "Maybe. But what kind? His cells use a type of energy we don't fully understand." She called Dr. Lisa Chen again. The xenobiologist had been working on the problem from her station. Lisa looked exhausted but excited. "I think I found something," Lisa said. "Zaltharon cells respond to specific electromagnetic frequencies. It's how they process energy. If you could expose him to the right frequency, you might be able to boost his energy levels directly." "What frequency?" Amy asked. Lisa sent over a data file. "These are my calculations. But I have to warn you. This is all theory. I've never tested it. If I'm wrong about the frequency, you could hurt him badly." Amy looked at the numbers. Then she looked at Vexnar, who was resting on the bed. His condition was stable but not improving. Without more help, the poison would eventually win. "I have to try," Amy said. She needed equipment that could generate precise electromagnetic frequencies. The medical bay had some basic devices, but nothing powerful enough. She thought about what else was on the base that might work. Then she remembered. The mining base used electromagnetic pulse generators to fracture certain types of rock. Those generators could produce a wide range of frequencies. Amy went to find Jake. "I need another favor." An hour later, they had moved one of the smaller pulse generators into the medical bay. Ben helped Amy modify it, making it precise enough for medical use instead of mining. They calibrated it to the frequency Lisa had calculated. "This is completely experimental," Amy warned Vex-Nar. "It might not work. It might even cause more damage." Vex-Nar managed a weak smile. "I am already dying, Dr. Carter. You cannot make my situation worse. And I am fascinated to see what humans will attempt next." They activated the pulse generator. Low-frequency electromagnetic waves filled the room. Everyone felt a slight tingling on their skin. Vex-Nar's body began to glow faintly. His crystalline blood caught the energy and distributed it throughout his system. The monitors showed immediate changes. His energy levels began to rise. His temperature stabilized. His breathing became stronger and steadier. "It's working," Kate said with wonder in her voice. Vex-Nar opened his eyes wider. "I can feel it. The energy is flowing properly again. The poison is still present, but my body is fighting it now." He looked at Amy with genuine amazement. "How did you know this would work?" "I didn't," Amy admitted. "But I had to try. Humans don't give up easily." Vex-Nar sat up slowly. He was still weak, but much stronger than before. He looked around the medical bay at the bizarre combination of equipment keeping him alive. Mining equipment doing dialysis. A pulse generator designed for rock fracturing providing energy to his cells. Communication parts from a dozen different systems being assembled into an alien transmitter. "Your technology is primitive," Vex-Nar said. Then he added, "But your thinking is not. My people build tools for specific purposes. One tool, one job. Everything specialized and perfect. But you take tools meant for one purpose and use them for something completely different. You see possibilities, where we see only limitations." Jake had been listening. "That's because we have to. We're the newcomers in space. We don't have centuries of advanced development like you do. So, we learn to be creative. We learn to make do with what we have. It is more than that," Vex-Nar said thoughtfully. "It is a different way of thinking. My people value perfection and specialization. But sometimes the perfect solution doesn't exist. Sometimes you need to improvise. This is a skill we have lost, if we ever had it." Ben called out from across the room. "Hey, we're ready to test the transmitter." Everyone gathered around the strange device. It hummed with power from the mining laser core. Chris had his hands on the controls. Ben had the data chip ready to upload. "This is the moment of truth," Chris said. "If this works, we can contact any Zaltharan ship within 2 light years. If it doesn't work, we might just blow out every electrical system in this base." "No pressure then," Megan said dryly. Chris pressed the activation button. The transmitter powered up. Lights flashed across its surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a steady tone filled the room. It was working. The device was generating the correct frequency. "Upload the data," Chris told Ben. Ben inserted the Zaltharan data chip. Information began flowing from the chip into the transmitter. The device broadcast it out into space, encoded in Zaltharan military protocols. "Message sent," Ben announced. "It's repeating every 5 minutes, just like Vex-Nar instructed." Vex-Nar stood up from the medical bed. He was unsteady, but he could stand. Kate tried to help him, but he waved her away gently. He walked over to the transmitter and examined it closely. "Remarkable," he said. "This should not exist. By every logical standard, this device cannot work. Yet here it is, functioning perfectly. You have shown me something important today. Advanced technology is valuable, but it is not everything. Sometimes, what matters more is the ability to think differently, to see solutions where others see only problems, to refuse to accept that something is impossible. That's the human way, Jake said proudly. Then perhaps the galaxy needs more of the human way, Vexnar replied. They waited for a response to the transmission. It would take time for a Zaltharon ship to receive the message and reply. Amy insisted that Vexnar rest, so he returned to the medical bed. But he remained awake, watching the humans work. Jake sat down beside him. Tell me about your people. What are the Zaltharon like? Jake. Vexnar considered the question. We are warriors. We value strength, honor, and discipline. For 10,000 years, we have built an empire on these principles. We are proud of our achievements. Sounds like you have a lot to be proud of, Jake said. Perhaps, Vexnar said. But pride can also make you blind. We dismissed your species as primitive. We saw your simple technology and assumed you had nothing to offer. Today, I learned how wrong we were. You saved my life with equipment that should not work. You solved problems that should be unsolvable. Not because you are more advanced, but because you think differently. He paused, looking at Jake seriously. When I return to my people, I will tell them about this, about what I witnessed here. Perhaps it will change how they see humanity. Perhaps not, but I will try. The alarm came without warning. Jake was dozing in a chair beside Vexnar's bed when the sirens started blaring. He jumped to his feet, instantly alert. Report! Captain Ryan's voice came over the intercom. We have 3 unknown ships entering the system. They're on an intercept course. With our position, Ben rushed to the nearest computer terminal. His fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm picking them up now. They're not broadcasting any identification signals. Vexnar sat up on the bed. His golden eyes went wide with recognition. Show me the scanner image. Ben pulled up the display. 3 sleek ships appeared on screen. They were dark green and covered in organic-looking armor. Strange growths extended from their hulls like insect legs. Kresh. Vexnar said grimly. They tracked my emergency beacon. They've come to finish what they started. Can we fight them? Jake asked. Not with your defenses, Vexnar said bluntly. 1 Kresh scout ship is equal to 3 of your military vessels. You have 3 ships incoming, and only light defensive weapons. You should evacuate immediately. Captain Ryan's voice came over the intercom again. All personnel, begin evacuation procedures. This is not a drill. Jake looked at Amy. She was checking Vexnar's medical equipment. I can't move him yet, Amy said firmly. If we disconnect him now, he'll die within the hour. Then we stay. Jake said simply. That's suicide, Vexnar protested. You cannot win this fight. Maybe not, Jake admitted. But we're not leaving you behind. Megan ran into the medical bay. She was carrying extra weapons. Captain Ryan ordered us to evacuate. I told him to go without us. He wasn't happy, but he agreed to leave a small force behind. Who stayed? Jake asked. Me, you, Ben, Chris, Amy, Kate, and 6 Marines. Sergeant Alex Turner is organizing them now, Megan reported. Everyone else is loading onto the evacuation ships. Outside, they could hear the sound of people rushing through the halls, children crying, adults calling out instructions. The colonists were scared. They had every right to be. Jake grabbed one of the weapons Megan had brought. We need a plan. We can't meet them head-on. Vexnar spoke from his bed. The Kresh are powerful, but they follow predictable patterns. They prefer direct assault. They will land troops and attempt to overwhelm you with numbers. So we don't let them land, Ben said. You cannot stop them with your defense systems, Vexnar said. Then we get creative, Jake replied. He turned to Ben and Chris. The mining lasers. Can we use them as weapons? Ben's eyes lit up. The big ones are mounted on fixed positions, but we could aim them manually. They're designed to cut through solid rock. They'd cut through ship armor easily, but we'd need someone to operate them, Chris added. And they'd be exposed. No shields, no armor. I'll do it, Ben said immediately. We'll need more than that, Megan said. She was studying a map of the colony. The base layout is our advantage. Narrow corridors, multiple levels, lots of places to hide. If they land troops, we can use guerrilla tactics. Sergeant Alex Turner entered with his Marines. They were young, but determined. Corporal Julie Morgan and 5 others. They carried rifles and explosives from the mining operation. We've set charges in the main corridors, Alex reported. If the bugs come through, we can collapse the tunnels on them. Vexnar looked impressed. You are planning to turn your own base into a trap. Home field advantage, Jake said. Let's move. The Kresh ships entered orbit 15 minutes later. They were larger, up close, bristling with weapons. The base's defense systems fired first. Missiles streaked up toward the enemy ships. Most were shot down before they reached their targets. A few got through, but they barely scratched the Kresh armor. Ben reached the mining facility and powered up the largest laser. Chris helped him align it manually. Through the targeting scope, they could see the lead Kresh ship descending toward the surface. Wait for it, Ben muttered. Wait for it. The Kresh ship came lower, entering the effective range of the mining laser. Ben fired. A beam of intense energy lanced upward. It struck the ship's underbelly and burned through. The ship shuddered and veered off course, trailing smoke. Direct hit, Chris shouted, but the other 2 ships adjusted their approach. They split up, coming at the base from different angles. One fired a missile that destroyed the mining laser facility. Ben and Chris barely escaped before the building exploded. So much for that idea, Ben said, coughing from the smoke. The Kresh ships landed 200 yards from the base. Doors opened on their hulls. Kresh soldiers poured out. They were insect-like creatures, each about 6 feet tall. They had 4 arms, each holding a weapon. Their exoskeletons were thick and armored. They moved fast, scuttling across the ground toward the base. Here they come, Megan said. She was at a defensive position on the outer wall. I count at least 40 hostiles. The Kresh reached the base entrance. Marines fired from cover. Several Kresh fell, but more kept coming. They fired back with energy weapons that melted through concrete. Fall back, Alex shouted. Collapse Tunnel 3. Julie hit the detonator. Explosives buried in the tunnel ceiling went off. Tons of rock fell, crushing a dozen Kresh soldiers and blocking the corridor. But the Kresh adapted quickly. They split into smaller groups, searching for other entrances. Inside the medical bay, Jake and Amy prepared for the worst. Kate had barricaded the doors. Vexnar tried to stand, but Amy pushed him back down. You're still recovering, Amy said. I can fight, Vexnar insisted. Not yet, you can't, Amy replied firmly. The sounds of battle echoed through the base. Gunfire. Explosions. Screaming. The Kresh were pushing deeper into the facility. The human defenders were falling back, fighting every step of the way. Megan's voice came over Jake's radio. They're in Sector 4. We can't hold them much longer. Keep falling back toward the medical bay, Jake ordered. We'll make our stand here. Vexnar spoke urgently. Let me help. I know Kresh tactics. Their weakness is their hive coordination. They communicate through a command structure. If we can disrupt their commander, the soldiers will be confused. How do we know which one is the commander? Jake asked. It will be larger, with red markings on its carapace. It stays back, directing the others. Vexnar explained. Jake relayed this information to the others. Alex and his Marines started targeting the larger Kresh, looking for the commander. It took 10 minutes of fighting before Julie spotted it. There, behind the group in Corridor 6. Big one with red stripes. Alex aimed carefully and fired. His shot hit the Kresh commander in the head. It went down hard. Immediately, the other Kresh soldiers seemed confused. Their coordinated assault became chaotic. Some stopped fighting entirely. Others attacked randomly. "It's working!" Megan shouted, but the celebration was short-lived. A new Kresh commander emerged, taking control of the soldiers. The assault renewed with even more intensity. A group of Kresh reached the medical bay. They began cutting through the barricade. Jake, Amy, and Kate stood ready with weapons. The door burst open. 3 Kresh soldiers rushed in. Jake fired first, taking down the lead soldier. Amy got the second one. But the third, Kresh lunged at Jake with its clawed arms. Jake dodged, but the creature was fast. Its claw slashed across his shoulder. Jake fell back, blood streaming from the wound. The Kresh raised its weapon, ready to finish Jake. Suddenly, a chair flew across the room and smashed into the creature's head. Vex's Nar had thrown it. The Zaltharon soldier struggled to his feet, pulling medical equipment from his arms. "Get away from him," Vexnar growled. The Kresh turned toward Vex's Nar. It made a clicking sound, recognizing its original target. It charged at the wounded Zaltharon. Vexnar was weak, but he was a trained warrior. He sidestepped the attack and grabbed the Kresh by 2 of its arms. Despite his weakened state, Vexnar's strength was impressive. He twisted hard. The Kresh's arms broke with a sickening crack. Vexnar then drove his 3-fingered hand through the creature's exoskeleton and into its chest. The Kresh collapsed. Vexnar staggered. Amy caught him before he fell. "You idiot! You reopened all your wounds!" "But I saved your friend," Vexnar said with a weak smile. Amy looked at Jake, who was bleeding on the floor. Kate was already moving to help him. "You both are idiots," Amy said. But there was affection in her voice. The battle raged for another hour. The humans used every trick they knew. They collapsed more tunnels. They rigged mining equipment to explode. They led Kresh soldiers into ambushes. Ben even managed to redirect a power conduit to electrocute a group of enemies. But the Kresh kept coming. The defenders were running out of ammunition and running out of ideas. They fell back to the medical bay for a final stand. "This is it," Alex said grimly. His Marines formed a defensive line. Everyone was wounded. Everyone was exhausted. Then Ben shouted from the computer terminal. "The transmitter! Something's responding to our message." "What?" Jake asked. "Look." Ben pointed at the screen. "Zaltharon ships. 4 of them. They just entered the system. Through the walls, they heard a new sound. Heavy weapons fire from orbit. The Kresh ships were being attacked. On the monitors, they watched as Zaltharon warships engaged the enemy. The Kresh vessels were powerful, but the Zaltharon ships were better. Within minutes, 2 Kresh ships were destroyed. The third tried to flee but was caught and destroyed. Without their ships for support, the Kresh ground troops lost their will to fight. Some tried to escape. Others fought to the death. Alex and his Marines hunted down the remaining hostiles. An hour later, it was over. The base was secure. The humans had won. The Zaltharon medical ship landed outside the damaged base 3 hours after the battle ended. Jake watched from the observation window as tall, blue-skinned soldiers emerged in perfect formation. They moved with military precision. Carrying advanced medical equipment, Amy was still working on Jake's shoulder wound when the Zaltharon doctors entered the medical bay. They stopped when they saw Vexnar lying on a bed, connected to human mining equipment and electromagnetic generators. One of them spoke in rapid Zaltharon. His translation device rendered it in English. "Commander Vexnar, you are alive. But this equipment is primitive. We must transfer you immediately." Vexnar held up his hand. "This primitive equipment saved my life. Show respect." The Zaltharon doctors looked confused but bowed slightly. They approached carefully, examining the makeshift medical systems. One of them, a female with darker blue skin, studied the setup closely. "This should not work," she said with wonder. "You used a mining separator as a dialysis machine. And this electromagnetic pulse device is providing cellular energy. Who designed this? Body, body, body. We all did," Amy said tiredly. The Zaltharan doctor looked at Amy with something like respect. "You saved a Zaltharan commander with mining tools and determination. That is remarkable." And well, they carefully transferred Vexnar to a Zaltharan medical pod. The advanced equipment would heal his remaining wounds quickly, but before they took him away, Vexnar insisted on speaking with Jake and the others. "Gather everyone who fought today," Vexnar requested. "I wish to thank them properly." 10 minutes later, the survivors assembled in what remained of the base's common area. Jake stood with his arm in a sling. Amy had bandages on her hands from treating so many wounded. Ben's face was covered in soot from the explosions. Megan limped from a leg injury. Alex and his Marines were bruised and exhausted. Vexnar entered, walking under his own power, now that he had received initial Zaltharan treatment. Behind him came a larger Zaltharan, wearing ornate armor, covered in honor markings. His translator device identified him as High Commander Thalrek. "I am Commander Vexnar's superior officer," Thalrek announced. "I came as soon as I received his intelligence report. The information he transmitted has allowed us to prevent a major Kresh offensive. Thousands of Zaltharan lives were saved because of his mission." He paused, looking at the assembled humans. "I also came because of what I was told about you. About how a small group of humans saved one of our finest warriors and then held off a Kresh assault force. I needed to see this for myself." Thalrek walked through the ruined base, examining everything. He saw the collapsed tunnels where humans had buried their enemies. He saw the mining equipment rigged as weapons. He saw the makeshift medical systems that had kept Vexnar alive. Finally, he returned to the common area. "In all my years of military service, I have never seen such creative tactics," Thalrek said. "You turned a civilian mining colony into a fortress. You used industrial equipment as medical devices and weapons. You fought an enemy with superior numbers and technology, and you won." He looked directly at Jake. "How?" Jake shrugged with his good shoulder. "We refused to give up. We used what we had. We worked together. That's what humans do." "That is not a strategy taught in any military academy," Thalrek observed. "Maybe it should be," Vexnar said quietly. Thalrek turned to his subordinate. "Explain." "Cuter." Vexnar stepped forward. "High Commander, I have learned something important during my time with these humans. We, Zaltharan, pride ourselves on our advanced technology and military might. We have rules, protocols, and standard procedures for everything. This gives us strength, but it also makes us rigid." He gestured to the humans. "These people have less advanced technology. They had minimal military training. By all logical standards, they should have failed. But they succeeded because they think differently. When they encounter a problem, they don't search their database for the standard solution. They create new solutions. They adapt. They improvise." Thalrek listened carefully. "You believe this adaptability is a strength?" "I know it is," Vexnar said firmly. "They saved my life with mining equipment. They defeated Kresh soldiers using collapsed tunnels and mining lasers. They built a transmitter from spare parts that sent my intelligence report across 2 light years. Every one of these achievements should have been impossible, yet they happened because humans refused to accept that something cannot be done." Thalrek was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "The Zaltharan Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We have conquered countless worlds. We have built wonders that span solar systems. But perhaps, in our pursuit of perfection, we have forgotten something important." "What is that, High Commander?" Vexnar asked. "The value of thinking beyond what we know. Of trying solutions that logic says will not work. Of refusing to quit even when defeat seems certain." Thalrek looked at the humans again. These are qualities we once possessed, long ago when my people were young and struggling to survive. Perhaps we need to remember them. Captain Ryan, who had returned with the evacuation ships, spoke up. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Thalrek nodded slowly. The Zaltharan Empire has long viewed humanity as a primitive species, unworthy of our attention. Today, I see that this view was wrong. You may lack our technology, but you possess something equally valuable. Determination, creativity, and the courage to attempt the impossible. He paused, then continued. I cannot speak for the entire Zaltharan government, but I can make a recommendation. I will propose that humanity be offered membership in the Coalition of Free Worlds. The Coalition is an alliance of species who stand against the Kresh threat. You have proven today that you deserve a place among us. The humans looked at each other in shock. The Coalition of Free Worlds was one of the most powerful organizations in the galaxy. Most species spent centuries trying to gain membership. You would sponsor us? Jake asked carefully. Yes, Thalrek said. With one condition. You must teach us your ways. Help us remember how to adapt, how to improvise, how to think beyond our rigid protocols. In return, we will share our technology and our resources. Together, we will be stronger. Amy stepped forward. Why now? Why not years ago, when we first met? Vexnar answered. Because we were blind. We saw your primitive technology and assumed that was all you were. Today, you taught us to look deeper, to see the strength that comes not from advanced machines, but from the will to survive and the creativity to find solutions where none should exist. Thalrek pulled out a communication device. I am sending my recommendation to the Zaltharan High Council now. I am also dispatching construction ships to help rebuild your base, and medical ships to treat your wounded. Consider it a small payment for saving Commander Vexnar's life. You don't need to pay us, Jake said. We helped because it was the right thing to do. I know, Thalrek replied. That is another thing we need to learn from you. Compassion, without expectation of reward. We, Zaltharan, fight for honor and glory. You fight for what is right. Perhaps your way is wiser. Over the next few days, Zaltharan ships arrived to help repair the colony. Advanced construction robots worked alongside human engineers. Zaltharan doctors treated wounded colonists. The two species worked side by side, learning from each other. Vexnar remained at the base during his recovery. He spent his time talking with Jake, Amy, Ben, and the others. He wanted to understand human thinking, how they solved problems, how they refused to give up, how they valued every individual life. One evening, Jake found Vexnar standing outside, looking up at the stars. How are you feeling? Jake asked. Strong again, Vexnar replied. Your Dr. Carter's treatment, combined with our medical technology, has healed me fully. I will return to duty soon. We'll miss having you around, Jake said honestly. Vexnar turned to face him. Jake Morrison, I need to tell you something. When I crashed on this planet, I was prepared to die. I accepted it as a warrior's fate. Then you came. You refused to let me die. You used tools in ways they were never meant to be used. You risked your lives to defend me from the Kresh. You showed me a way of thinking I had never encountered before. He paused, his golden eyes reflecting the starlight. My species has grown proud. We think our technology and our long history make us superior. But you taught me that true strength comes from within, from the determination to keep fighting when logic says you should quit, from the creativity to find solutions where none should exist, and from the compassion to help others, even when they have never helped you. We just did what we thought was right, Jake said simply. Exactly, Vexnar replied. That is what makes you special. You do what is right without hesitation or calculation. You do not ask what you will gain. You simply help because someone needs help. The galaxy has forgotten this. We have all become too concerned with power, territory, and resources. We need to be reminded of what truly matters. 2 weeks later, word came from the Zaltharan High Council. Humanity had been granted membership in the Coalition of Free Worlds. It was the fastest such approval in Coalition history. On the day Vex'Nar departed, the entire colony came to see him off. He stood at the landing ramp of his new ship, wearing fresh armor with new honor marks earned from his recent mission. "I will return," Vex'Nar promised. "My government is establishing a permanent liaison office here. I have requested to be assigned to it. I wish to continue learning from you, and to help build the alliance between our peoples." "We'd like that," Amy said, smiling. Vex'Nar looked at all of them one last time. "You saved my life. You changed my understanding of the universe. You gave humanity a place among the stars. I came to your world expecting nothing. I leave having gained everything that matters: friendship, respect, and hope for a better future." He saluted them in the Zaltharan style, a fist over his heart. Then he added a very human gesture. He smiled and held out his 3-fingered hand for a handshake. Jake took it firmly. "Thank you, Jake Morrison. Thank you, all of you. You showed me that the measure of a species is not their technology or their history. It is their character, their determination, their unwillingness to give up, and most importantly, their compassion for others." Vex'Nar paused. "The galaxy needs more of that. The galaxy needs more humans." Vex'Nar paused. As his ship lifted off, Jake stood with Amy, Ben, Megan, and the others. They watched it climb into the sky and disappear among the stars. The same stars that now welcomed humanity as equals. "We did it," Ben said quietly. "We saved him. We fought off the Kresh. We earned a place in the coalition." "We did more than that," Amy said. "We showed them what humanity is capable of. Not because of our technology, because of who we are." Jake smiled. The galaxy won't know what hit them. Above them, more ships were arriving. Human ships carrying diplomats, scientists, and engineers. Ships that would begin humanity's journey as members of the galactic community. A journey that started because a small group of humans refused to let an alien soldier die alone, because they believed that helping someone in need was always the right thing to do. In the end, that was the most human thing of all.